Hey, welcome back. Today we're going deep, really deep. This isn't your typical 5-minute motivation video. We're spending the next hour together exploring 8 powerful ideas from ancient philosophy that can actually change how you think, how you feel, and how you show up in life. Now, I know what you might be thinking. Philosophy? Ancient Rome. What does that have to do with me trying to get through Monday morning or dealing with stress at work? Everything, actually. See, about 2,000 years ago, there were these thinkers in ancient Rome and Greece. They weren't living in ivory towers. They were in the trenches. Marcus Aurelius was running an empire during wars and plagues. Epictetus was literally a slave before he became a teacher. Seneca advised emperors and faced exile. These weren't people theorizing about life. They were surviving it. And more than that, they were figuring out how to stay sane, how to stay strong, and how to keep going when everything around them was falling apart. They called their approach Stoicism. And here's what makes it different from a lot of modern self-help. It's not about positive thinking or pretending everything is fine. It's about seeing reality clearly and building yourself up from the inside so that nothing on the outside can break you. One thing Marcus Aurelius wrote keeps coming back to me. He said we have power over our minds, not outside events. When we realize this, we find strength. That's not just a nice quote. That's the whole game. That's freedom. So here's what we're doing today. 8 laws. 8 principles. We're going to take our time with each one. I'll explain what it means, why it matters, and most importantly, how you can actually use it. No fluff, no filler, just real talk about real growth. Before we start, do me a favor. If you're serious about this, give the video a like. Not for the algorithm, but as a commitment to yourself. You're choosing to spend the next hour investing in your mind. That deserves acknowledgement. And drop this in the comments right now. I'm ready to grow. First truth, why comfort is secretly destroying you. Let's start with something uncomfortable. And yeah, that's intentional. We live in the most comfortable era in human history. You can get food delivered to your door. You can control the temperature in your room. You can avoid almost any physical discomfort with a few taps on your phone. But here's the thing nobody talks about. All this comfort is making us weak. Not physically weak, though that's part of it. Mentally weak, emotionally fragile. We've lost our tolerance for difficulty. Think about your own life. When was the last time you did something genuinely hard? Not because you had to, but because you chose to. When did you last put yourself in a situation that scared you a little? Most of us avoid discomfort like it's the enemy. We hit snooze instead of getting up. We skip the workout because we're tired. We avoid difficult conversations because they might be awkward. The Stoics saw this completely differently. They didn't run from discomfort. They ran toward it, on purpose. Marcus Aurelius had this idea that whatever stands in your way becomes the way forward. The obstacle is the path. It sounds backwards, right? But think about it. Every time life puts something difficult in front of you, you have a choice. You can see it as a problem, or you can see it as training. You can complain about it, or you can use it to get stronger. When you're stuck in traffic, that's patience training. When someone criticizes you, that's emotional regulation training. When you're tired but still have work to do, that's discipline training. Nothing is wasted if you use it right. Now, the Stoics took this even further. They didn't just accept discomfort when it showed up, they actively practiced it. Seneca, who was incredibly wealthy, would sometimes sleep on a hard floor and eat plain bread. Not because he hated himself, but because he was training. He wanted to know, if I lost everything tomorrow, would I fall apart, or would I be okay? And when you practice being uncomfortable, something shifts. You stop being afraid of it. You realize it's not going to destroy you. Actually, it makes you sharper. There's this gap between who you are and who you could be. That gap, it's filled with discomfort. Every single version of yourself that's stronger, calmer, more capable than you are right now lives on the other side of things you don't want to do. The promotion you want, it's on the other side of uncomfortable conversations and extra effort. The relationship you want, it's on the other side of vulnerability. The body you want, it's on the other side of sore muscles and early mornings. We know this, but we keep looking for shortcuts. We keep hoping there's an easy way. There isn't. But here's what makes this bearable, even exciting. You get to choose your discomfort. You can either let life throw random hardship at you and scramble to deal with it, or you can choose controlled challenges that prepare you. Cold showers, hard workouts, fasting for a day, public speaking, having that conversation you've been avoiding. These are all choices. Small, manageable challenges that build your tolerance, and over time, you become someone who doesn't flinch. When real problems show up, you're ready, not because you're tougher than everyone else, but because you've been practicing. There's freedom in this. When you're not afraid of discomfort, there's very little that can control you. Most people are trapped by comfort. They won't leave the bad job because it's familiar. They won't end the wrong relationship because being alone is scary. They won't start the business because failure would hurt. But you, when you've trained yourself to handle discomfort, you're free to do what's right, not just what's easy. So here's your starting point. Pick one small discomfort this week, just one. Take a cold shower, wake up an hour early, skip your phone for a morning, have that hard conversation. Do it, and notice what happens. Notice that you survived. Notice that you're actually a bit stronger afterward. That's how you begin. One small choice at a time, building a mind that doesn't run from hard things anymore. Second truth, your emotions are lying to you. Let me ask you something. How often do your emotions run your life? Someone cuts you off in traffic and suddenly you're angry for the next hour. Your plans get cancelled and your whole mood shifts. You wake up feeling anxious, and that feeling colors everything you do that day. We act like emotions are these forces that just happen to us, like we're victims of our feelings. And yeah, emotions are real. They're powerful. But here's what the Stoics understood that most people miss. You're not your emotions. You're the person experiencing them. There's a huge difference. Epictetus said something that hits hard. He said, any person who can make you angry becomes your master. They control you the moment you let them disturb your peace. Think about that. Really think about it. That person who insulted you, you just gave them control over your emotional state. That comment online from a stranger, you let it ruin your evening. That situation that didn't go your way, you're letting it define your entire mood. When you react without thinking, you're not free. You're being controlled by whatever happens to trigger you. Now here's where people get this wrong. The Stoics aren't saying don't feel emotions. That's impossible, and honestly, it's not even desirable. Emotions give us information. They're part of being human. What they're saying is, feel the emotion, but don't let it hijack your actions. There's a space between what happens and how you respond. Most people never find that space. Something happens, they feel something, they react. It's automatic. But that space is where your power lives. Marcus Aurelius wrote that if something external disturbs you, the pain doesn't come from the thing itself. It comes from your judgment about it. And you can change that judgment anytime you want. This is radical. It means that the worst thing someone can do to you is limited by how you interpret it. They can insult you, but they can't make you feel worthless unless you agree with them. They can reject you, but they can't destroy your self-worth unless you let them. They can inconvenience you, but they can't ruin your day unless you decide it's ruined. I know this sounds harsh. It sounds like I'm saying everything is your fault. But that's not it. I'm saying everything is your responsibility. Not because you caused it, but because you're the only one who can handle it. And that's actually empowering. Because if your emotional state depends on other people being kind, life being fair, and circumstances going your way, you're going to suffer constantly. Those things are outside your control. But if your emotional state depends on how you think about things, how you interpret events, how you choose to respond, now you've got something to work with. Here's a practical way to use this. Next time you feel a strong emotion, especially a negative one, try this. Pause, just for a few seconds. Don't react yet. Name the emotion. I'm feeling angry. I'm feeling anxious. I'm feeling hurt. Just naming it creates a bit of distance. Ask yourself, is this feeling giving me useful information, or is it just noise? Is it helping me solve a problem, or is it making things worse? Then decide how to respond. Not react. Respond. With intention. This doesn't mean you become a robot. It means you become someone who acts with clarity instead of just being swept around by feelings. And here's what happens when you practice this. You become steady, reliable, strong. People notice it. They see someone who doesn't get rattled easily, someone who can handle pressure. But more importantly, you notice it. You start trusting yourself, because you know that no matter what you feel, you can handle it. You can feel fear and still do the brave thing. You can feel sadness and still show up. You can feel anger and still speak with respect. That's emotional mastery. Not control in the sense of suppression, but mastery in the sense of understanding and directing. The Stoics believed that most human suffering comes from poor emotional management. We make things worse by catastrophizing, by ruminating, by letting our minds spiral. But we can train a different way. We can learn to sit with discomfort without drowning in it. We can learn to feel things deeply without being destroyed by them. This takes practice. You're not going to nail it tomorrow. But every single time you pause before reacting, you're building that muscle. Every time you choose your response, instead of defaulting to your triggers, you're getting stronger. Start small, maybe with minor annoyances. Traffic, a long line, a small criticism. Use these as training grounds. Practice the pause. Practice the choice. Over time, you'll find yourself more and more free. Not free from emotions, but free within them. And that's a completely different life. Third truth. The world doesn't owe you anything. All right, let's talk about something that might sting a bit. Life isn't fair. It never has been. It never will be. I know that sounds harsh, maybe even cynical, but stick with me, because this isn't about giving up. It's about waking up. How much energy have you wasted being angry that things aren't fair? How many times have you thought, this shouldn't have happened to me. I didn't deserve this. I did everything right. Maybe you worked harder than someone else and they got the promotion. Maybe you were loyal and you got betrayed. Maybe you've been kind and people took advantage of you. And the natural response is, this isn't fair. But here's the brutal truth the Stoics want you to understand. The universe doesn't owe you fairness. Life doesn't operate on a system of karmic balance where good deeds guarantee good outcomes. Marcus Aurelius, the most powerful man in Rome, saw this every day. Good people suffered, bad people prospered. He could have become bitter about it. Instead, he chose to understand it. He wrote that when you wake up, you should expect to meet unkind people, ungrateful people, liars and cheats. Not because everyone is bad, but because that's reality. People are flawed, situations are complicated, life is unpredictable. When you expect fairness, you set yourself up for constant disappointment. Because you're living in a fantasy. You're waiting for the world to work in a way it simply doesn't. But when you accept that unfairness is built into the system, something powerful happens. You stop wasting energy on resentment. You stop being shocked when things go wrong. You free up all that mental energy for actually solving problems. Now, I can hear the objection. Doesn't this make you cynical? Doesn't this mean you stop trying? Nah, the opposite actually. When you stop expecting the world to hand you what you deserve, you start building your own power. You stop waiting for justice and start creating value. You stop hoping people will be fair and start being strategic about who you trust. This isn't about becoming cold or heartless. It's about becoming realistic and resilient. The Stoics called this radical acceptance. You accept reality as it is, not as you wish it were. And from that place of clear-eyed truth, you act. Think about it this way. Let's say you're playing a game and you discover the game has some unfair rules. You have two choices. One, you can complain about the rules. You can refuse to play. You can spend all your time being angry about how unfair it is. Two, you can accept the rules and get really good at playing anyway. You can find strategies. You can adapt. You can win despite the unfairness. Which person has more power? The person complaining has given their power away. They're stuck. The person adapting has kept their power. They're moving forward. This applies to everything. Unfair workplace? Okay, what's your move? Build skills that make you irreplaceable. Network. Start a side project. Plan your exit strategy. Do something. Unfair economy. All right, how do you position yourself? What can you learn? How can you create value that people will pay for, no matter what's happening? Unfair relationships. What boundaries do you need? What standards will you hold? Who deserves your time and who doesn't? See, the Stoic doesn't wait for fairness. The Stoic takes responsibility. Not because everything is their fault, but because waiting for the world to change is a losing strategy. Seneca said something powerful. He said sometimes even to live is an act of courage, especially when life is unfair, especially when you've been dealt a bad hand. The courage isn't in getting a fair shake. The courage is in playing your hand anyway. And here's something else. When you stop demanding fairness from the world, you start being more fair yourself. You become the person who does the right thing, not because you'll be rewarded, but because it aligns with who you want to be. You keep your word even when others don't. You show up with integrity even when it costs you. You treat people well even when they don't deserve it. Not because you're naive, but because your character isn't for sale. Your principles aren't conditional on how the world treats you. That's power. That's freedom. So here's what to do with this. Next time you catch yourself thinking, this isn't fair, stop. Acknowledge the feeling. It's valid. Then ask, okay, but what am I going to do about it? Move from complaint to action. Move from victim to creator. Move from waiting for justice to building your own path forward. Life doesn't owe you anything, but that also means you don't owe life your defeat. You can play the game on your terms, with your rules, by your standards. And when you do that, fairness becomes irrelevant. You're too busy creating your own outcomes to worry about what you're owed. Fourth truth, you're fighting battles you can't win. Here's a simple question that changes everything. What can you actually control? Most people never seriously ask this. They spend their lives trying to control things that aren't in their power, and then they wonder why they feel anxious, frustrated, and powerless. The Stoics were obsessed with this question. Epictetus built his entire teaching around it. He said the key to life is making the best use of what's in your power and taking the rest as it happens. Sounds simple, but it's probably the hardest thing you'll ever do. Because humans are control freaks. We want to control everything. We want to control what people think of us. We want to control outcomes. We want to control the future. We want to control other people's behavior, and we can't. We never could. We never will. So let's get clear on what's actually in your control. Really in your control. Your thoughts, how you interpret events, your actions, your responses, your effort, your attitude, your values, your intentions. That's pretty much it. Everything else, outside your control, and I mean everything. You can't control other people, not what they think, not what they say, not what they do. You can influence them, sure, but you can't control them. You can't control outcomes. You can work hard, you can be smart, you can do everything right, and still fail. Because outcomes depend on 1,000 variables you don't control. You can't control the past. It's done. You can't control the future. It hasn't happened yet. You can't even fully control your own body. It gets sick, it ages, it breaks down. Now this might sound depressing, like I'm saying you're powerless, but actually this is the most empowering thing you can understand, because when you stop wasting energy on things you can't control, you have so much more energy for things you can. Think about your day yesterday. How much time did you spend worrying about things outside your control? Worrying about what might happen, replaying what someone said, stressing about variables you can't affect. All that energy? Wasted. Here's what changes when you really get this. You become focused. You become calm. You become effective. Someone doesn't like you, can't control that, but you can control whether you let it bother you. You can control whether you stay kind anyway. You can control whether you use it as feedback or ignore it as noise. Economy is bad. Can't control that, but you can control how you prepare. You can control your skills, your savings, your network, your value. Traffic is terrible. Can't control that, but you can control your response. You can use the time to listen to something educational. You can practice patience. You can leave earlier next time. The Stoics used this metaphor. You're a dog tied to a cart. The cart is moving no matter what. You can't stop it. You can run alongside it smoothly, or you can resist and get dragged. Either way, the cart keeps moving. The cart is life. The things you can't control. Your choice is whether you move with it gracefully or fight it the whole way. Marcus Aurelius kept reminding himself, you have power over your mind, not external events. When you really understand this, you find strength. And the strength comes from focus. Instead of spreading yourself thin, trying to manage everything, you pour your energy into the one thing you can actually control: yourself. Your response to betrayal, your decision after failure, your attitude during hardship, your effort despite uncertainty, your principles when no one's watching. That's your domain. That's your kingdom. And it's the only kingdom you'll ever rule. Now here's a practice that helps. Every time you feel stressed or anxious, pause and ask, is this within my control? If yes, do something about it. Take action, make a plan, move. If no, let it go. Not in a spiritual bypass way where you pretend you don't care, but in a practical way where you redirect your energy to what you can actually affect. This takes practice. Your brain will fight you. It wants to worry. It wants to try to control the uncontrollable. That's normal. But every time you redirect your focus back to your sphere of control, you're training yourself. You're building the habit of effectiveness. And over time, you'll notice something. You're getting more done with less stress. You're feeling more powerful even when circumstances don't change. You're becoming someone who doesn't panic because you know exactly what's in your hands and what isn't. Other people will notice this too. They'll see someone who stays calm when others lose it. Someone who focuses on solutions instead of problems. Someone who doesn't waste time complaining about things they can't change. That person is rare. That person is valuable. That person is you when you master this principle. So today, Make a list. Write down everything you're worried about or stressed about. Then go through it and mark each item. Can I control this? Can I influence this? Or is this completely outside my power? For the things you can control, take action. For the things you can influence, make your best effort, then detach from the outcome. For the things outside your power, practice letting go. This one shift, if you really commit to it, will change your life. Not because your circumstances will magically improve, but because you'll finally be directing your energy where it can actually make a difference. And that's where real power lives. Fifth truth: training for the storms you can't see coming. Let's talk about something that sounds crazy at first: choosing to make your life harder on purpose. Stay with me. There's a method to this. We live in a world designed for comfort. Every year, life gets a little easier, a little more convenient, a little more comfortable, and we think that's only good. But there's a hidden cost to all this comfort. We're losing our ability to handle difficulty. The Stoics understood something we've forgotten. Comfort makes you soft, and softness makes you vulnerable. So they practiced what they called voluntary hardship, deliberately choosing discomfort to build strength. Seneca, who was one of the richest men in Rome, would regularly spend days living like he had nothing, sleeping on the floor, eating basic food, wearing rough clothes. Why? Was he trying to punish himself? Was it some kind of guilt thing because he was rich? Nah, he was training. He wanted to know, if I lost everything tomorrow, would I be okay? Could I handle it? Or would I completely fall apart? And by practicing hardship voluntarily, he made sure the answer was yes. He knew he could survive anything because he'd already practiced surviving. Think about modern life. Most people have never truly been uncomfortable, never been really hungry, never been genuinely cold, never gone without their conveniences. And then when hardship comes, as it always does, they shatter, they panic. They don't have any reference point for difficulty. But what if you trained for hardship the same way you'd train for a marathon? What if you deliberately practiced handling difficulty so that when real trouble shows up, you're ready? This isn't about being masochistic. It's about being prepared. Here's what voluntary hardship might look like in practical terms. Fast for 24 hours once in a while, not because you need to lose weight, but because you need to know you can control your hunger, that you're not a slave to every craving. Take cold showers. Yeah, they're uncomfortable. That's the point. You're training your mind to do hard things even when it doesn't want to. Wake up early when you don't have to. Give up something you enjoy for a month. Sit with boredom instead of reaching for your phone. Exercise when you're tired. These small voluntary discomforts stack up. They build something in you. They build the knowledge that you can handle hard things. They build confidence. They build mental toughness. Marcus Aurelius dealt with wars, plagues, betrayals, and disasters. But he didn't fall apart. Why? Because difficulty wasn't new to him. He'd prepared for it mentally. He expected it. When you expect hardship, it loses its power to shock you. When you've already practiced being uncomfortable, real discomfort doesn't break you. There's another benefit too. When you practice voluntary hardship, you develop gratitude for what you have. That hot shower feels amazing after you've taken cold ones. That meal tastes incredible after you've fasted. That comfortable bed feels like luxury after you've slept on the floor. You stop taking things for granted. You appreciate what you have because you've experienced what it's like without it. But beyond gratitude, you develop capability. You become someone who can handle things, who doesn't crumble under pressure, who has reserves of strength to draw on. Think about the military. Why do they put recruits through brutal training? Because they know that in combat, you don't rise to the occasion. You fall to the level of your training. If you've never been uncomfortable, never been pushed, never practiced staying focused under stress, you'll break when it matters. But if you've trained yourself through voluntary challenges, you'll have that training to fall back on. Now, here's the key. This has to be voluntary. If someone forces you to be uncomfortable, that builds resentment. If you choose it, it builds character. The difference is agency. You're in control. You're choosing this as training. That makes all the difference psychologically. So what does this look like for you? What small hardship could you choose this week? Maybe it's skipping a meal. Maybe it's a cold shower. Maybe it's saying no to something you usually indulge in. Maybe it's doing the hard workout instead of the easy one. Pick something. Do it. Notice how you feel afterward. You'll probably feel stronger, more capable, more in control. That's the point. You're proving to yourself that you're not fragile, that you can handle difficult things. That discomfort won't destroy you. And when you know that deeply, life gets less scary, because you know that no matter what happens, you'll find a way to handle it. You've already practiced. The Stoics believed that the person who can endure anything is truly free, because there's nothing life can threaten them with that they can't handle. That's the kind of strength we're building here. Not physical strength, though that might come too. Mental and emotional strength, the kind that makes you unshakable. Start small. Pick one voluntary hardship this week. Do it with intention. Do it as training. And notice what it builds in you. Over time, you'll become someone very few people are. Someone who doesn't need comfort to be okay. Someone who can thrive in any circumstance. That's freedom. That's power. And it starts with choosing to be uncomfortable on purpose. Sixth, truth. Why chasing results is making you miserable. Here's a pattern you've probably noticed. The more you want something, the more anxious you get about it. The more you need it to work out a certain way, the more you suffer. Welcome to attachment, and it's making you miserable. The Stoics had a radical solution. Detach from outcomes. Fall in love with the process instead. Now, this doesn't mean you stop caring. It doesn't mean you become some Zen monk who doesn't want anything. It means you shift where you find your satisfaction and your sense of control. Epictetus taught that freedom comes from focusing on what you can control and releasing what you can't. Outcomes? You can't control them. Not really. You can control your effort. You can control your strategy. You can control how much you learn and how hard you work. But the result? That depends on 1,000 factors outside your control. So when you tie your happiness, your self-worth, your sense of success to an outcome, you're setting yourself up for suffering, because you're basing your well-being on something you don't fully control. Think about this in practical terms. You're working on a project. You pour your heart into it. You do great work. Then it fails. The market changes. The timing is wrong. Someone else beats you to it. If your entire identity was wrapped up in that outcome, you're crushed. You feel like a failure. You might quit. But what if instead you were focused on the process? What if your satisfaction came from the fact that you showed up, you did your best work, you learned something? Now the outcome doesn't destroy you. Yeah, it's disappointing, but you haven't lost yourself. You've still won in the ways that matter. You grew. You tried. You acted with integrity. Marcus Aurelius was obsessed with this idea. He kept reminding himself to focus on the action, not the fruit of the action. Do the right thing. Make the effort. Then let go of the result. This is so counterintuitive to modern thinking. We're taught to be outcome-obsessed. Set goals, hit targets, measure everything by results. But here's what that creates: anxiety, desperation, and fragility. Because if you don't get the outcome you want, you feel like you failed. And if you do get it, you immediately start worrying about losing it. The Stoic path offers something different: peace in the process. When you focus on what you can control, your effort, your attitude, your consistency, your character, you always win. Every single day you show up is a victory. Every time you act according to your values is a success. The outcome becomes secondary, nice if it happens, but not necessary for you to feel good about yourself. Here's a thought experiment. Imagine you're writing a book. You spend 2 years on it. You pour everything into it. Then you publish it and it flops. Nobody reads it. Outcome-focused thinking says, I failed. That was a waste of time. Process-focused thinking says, I became a better writer. I learned discipline. I proved I could finish something hard. I have something I'm proud of, regardless of whether anyone else cares. Which mindset serves you better? The ironic thing? When you detach from outcomes, you often achieve better results anyway, because you're not desperate, you're not attached, you're not making decisions from fear of failure or need for validation. You're just doing good work because you value good work. And that clarity, that freedom, that confidence, other people feel it. Opportunities come. Success happens, but it happens as a byproduct of who you became, not as the goal you chased. Athletes understand this. The ones who play for the love of the game often outperform the ones who only play for victory, because they're not tight, they're not desperate, they're in flow. This applies to everything: relationships, career, creative work, all of it. When you love someone for the outcome, what they give you, how they make you look, what they provide, that's fragile. The relationship becomes a transaction. When you love someone for the process, the daily choice to show up, to care, to grow together, that's solid. Even if it ends, you don't lose what you built in yourself. So how do you practice this? How do you detach from outcomes when you've been trained your whole life to chase results? Start by shifting your metrics. Stop measuring success by what happened and start measuring it by how you showed up. Did you do your best? Did you act with integrity? Did you learn something? Did you grow? Did you stay true to your values? If yes, you succeeded. The outcome is just extra information about the world, not a verdict on you. Next, practice process goals instead of outcome goals. Instead of, I want to lose 20 pounds, try, I want to work out 4 times a week and eat vegetables at every meal. You control that, and if you do those things, you'll probably get closer to your goal anyway. But your satisfaction doesn't depend on the scale, it depends on your actions. Finally, practice radical acceptance of uncertainty. Remind yourself daily, I can't control outcomes, I can only control my response. I'll do my best and accept whatever comes. This isn't giving up. It's giving yourself permission to be at peace while you work hard. The Stoics believed that inner peace comes from doing your duty and accepting fate. You do what's right, you make the effort, then you trust that whatever happens is meant to teach you something. That doesn't mean you're passive, it means you're free. Free from the anxiety of attachment, free from the desperation of needing things to go your way, free to do your best work without the weight of outcomes crushing you. And that freedom, that's what makes you truly powerful, because now you can take risks, you can try big things, you can fail without being destroyed. You can live fully because you're not clinging so tightly to results that you forget to actually live. So today, pick one area of life where you're attached to an outcome. Notice how it makes you feel. Then consciously shift your focus to the process, to what you can control, to what you can learn. Do the work for the work's sake. Act with character for character's sake. Show up for the sake of showing up. The outcomes will take care of themselves. And either way, you'll be okay. 7th truth. You're living like you have forever. Let's talk about death, not in a morbid way, in a way that might actually save your life, or at least save you from wasting it. The Stoics practiced something called memento mori. Remember, you will die. Most people hear that and think it's depressing. Why would you want to think about death? Isn't that dark? But the Stoics didn't meditate on death to be gloomy. They did it to wake up, to remember what matters, to stop wasting time. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think. That's not a threat. That's a gift. It's a reminder that time is the only resource you can't get more of. And every moment you waste is gone forever. Think about how you spent yesterday. How much of it was truly meaningful? How much was just filler? How much was spent on things that don't actually matter to you?" Most people live like they're going to live forever. They say, "Someday I'll do that. Eventually I'll have that conversation. One day I'll start that project." But someday isn't a day of the week, and one day often means never. The awareness of death changes this. When you truly understand that your time is limited, that you don't know when it ends, everything shifts. You stop tolerating mediocrity. You stop waiting for perfect conditions. You stop holding grudges. You stop caring so much about petty things because you realize this might be it. This might be my last year, my last month, my last conversation with this person. Do I want to waste it on nonsense? Seneca wrote that people are stingy with their money but careless with their time. They'll fight over a few dollars but throw away hours on meaningless activities without a second thought. He said, "We don't have a short life. We have a long life that we waste. And that waste is a choice." When you remember death, you become present. You become intentional. You become honest. You tell people you love them instead of assuming you'll have time later. You pursue your dreams now instead of waiting for retirement. You have the hard conversations instead of avoiding them indefinitely. This isn't about living recklessly or making stupid decisions. It's about living deliberately, with urgency, with purpose. Think about people who've had near-death experiences. They often say their whole life changed afterward. Colors seemed brighter. Relationships felt more precious. Trivial worries disappeared. Why? Because they woke up. They remembered that life ends. You don't need a near-death experience to get this benefit. You just need to remember regularly, memento mori. You will die, not to scare you, not to depress you, but to wake you up to the preciousness of right now. Here's a practice. Every morning when you wake up, remind yourself, I might not see tomorrow. What really matters today? That question will cut through so much noise, the argument you were going to have. Maybe not worth it. The approval you were seeking. Less important now. The risk you were avoiding. Actually, maybe you should take it. Because the biggest risk is getting to the end of your life and realizing you didn't really live it. You just went through the motions. You played it safe. You waited. The Stoics believed that the person who truly understands death lives the most fully, not because they're reckless, but because they're awake. They don't postpone joy. They don't delay important actions. They don't waste their precious time on things that don't align with their values. And here's something powerful. When you remember death, you become less afraid of everything else. Afraid of failure? Well, you're going to die anyway. Might as well try. Afraid of rejection? Your time is limited. Better to be honest than to hide. Afraid of looking foolish? In 100 years, no one will remember. Do it anyway. Death is the great equalizer. It's coming for all of us. Rich, poor, famous, unknown. Doesn't matter. We all end up in the same place. So what actually matters? What leaves a mark? What makes the time you had worthwhile? That's what you should be focusing on. That's what deserves your energy, your relationships, your growth, your contributions, your experiences, your character, the love you gave, the courage you showed, the truth you spoke, everything else. It's just noise that death will sweep away anyway. Marcus Aurelius, with all his power and wealth, knew this. He knew that his status would fade, his accomplishments would be forgotten, even his name would eventually disappear. So he focused on being a good person, on doing the right thing, on living with virtue, because that was all he could control, and that was what mattered. You have today. That's what you know for sure. You might have tomorrow, you might have decades, but you definitely have right now. What are you going to do with it? Are you going to scroll mindlessly? Are you going to stay in that situation you know isn't right? Are you going to keep postponing the life you actually want? Or are you going to wake up? Are you going to act like your time matters? Because it does. It's all you have. Memento mori isn't about fear. It's about freedom. Freedom to live authentically. Freedom to take risks. Freedom to love deeply. Freedom to try greatly. Because when you remember you're going to die, you remember to live. So make this practical. Write memento mori somewhere you'll see it daily. Set a reminder on your phone. Create some ritual that brings you back to this truth. And when you remember, ask yourself, if this was my last week, what would I do differently? Who would I call? What would I say? What would I start? What would I stop? Then do those things, not someday, now. Because the brutal truth is, we don't get to know when our time ends. And if we keep waiting, we might run out of time while we're still planning to begin. Live like your death is certain, but the timing is unknown. Because that's exactly what's true. Final truth. Stop living for applause. Let's get to the core of everything, the foundation, the thing that makes all the other principles actually work. Live for virtue, not approval, not success, not comfort, not even happiness. Virtue. Now, that word has gotten weak in modern times. It sounds old-fashioned, preachy. But the Stoics meant something specific and powerful by it. Virtue meant excellence of character, wisdom, justice, courage, self-control, living according to your highest principles, regardless of circumstances. Marcus Aurelius kept reminding himself, just that you do the right thing, the rest doesn't matter. Think about that. He could have said, make sure people praise you, or make sure you succeed, or make sure you get credit. He didn't. He said, do the right thing, period. The rest is noise. In today's world, most people live for external validation. They make decisions based on what will get likes, what will impress others, what will make them look good. But here's the problem with that. You've given away your power. Your sense of worth now depends on other people's opinions, and you can't control those. The Stoic approach is different. You define your values. You decide what kind of person you want to be. Then you live that way, whether anyone's watching or not, whether anyone approves or not. This is integrity in its truest sense. Wholeness. You're the same person in public and in private. You do the right thing because it's right, not because it's rewarded. Seneca wrote that he would govern his life and thoughts as if the whole world were watching, not because he wanted to perform for an audience, but because he wanted to be someone he could respect. That's powerful. You're not trying to impress others. You're trying to impress yourself. You're trying to be worthy of your own admiration. And here's what happens when you live this way. You become unshakable, because your sense of self isn't tied to outcomes or opinions. It's tied to your character, and that's entirely within your control. Someone criticizes you? Okay. Did you do the right thing? Then their criticism is just noise. Someone praises you. Great. But you were going to do the right thing anyway. You become free. Free from needing approval. free from fearing judgment, free from the constant exhausting work of trying to manage how others see you. Now, this doesn't mean you become rigid or self-righteous. The Stoics valued wisdom, which includes knowing when to adapt, when to listen, when to change your approach. But your core principles, those don't change based on convenience or popularity. You tell the truth even when it costs you. You keep your promises even when it's hard. You treat people with respect even when they don't deserve it. You do quality work even when no one will notice. Why? Because that's who you are. That's the person you've decided to be. This is especially hard in modern culture. We're surrounded by shortcuts, by people cutting corners, by the message that winning is all that matters. But the Stoic asks a different question. What kind of person do I become when I win like that? If you have to lie, cheat, betray, or compromise your values to succeed, what have you actually won? You might have gained something external, but you've lost something internal, something more important, your integrity, your self-respect, your character. And unlike money or status, you can't get those back once they're gone. Once you know you're the kind of person who compromises their values when it's convenient, you can't unknow that. Marcus Aurelius faced this constantly. As emperor, he could have done anything, taken anything, justified anything. Who would stop him? But he held himself to a higher standard, not because he had to, because he chose to, because he wanted to be a certain kind of person more than he wanted comfort or ease. That's the warrior part of warrior for virtue. It's not passive, it's not soft. It's a daily battle against the easier path, the shortcut, the compromise. Every day you face choices, small ones and big ones. And each choice is a vote for the kind of person you're becoming. Do you cut corners or do quality work? Do you gossip or stay silent? Do you keep your word or make excuses? Do you help or look away? Nobody might notice, but you know. And those small choices compound. They build character or erode it. The good news? Every moment is a new choice. You're not locked into who you've been. You can start being a warrior for virtue right now. Here's how. Define your non-negotiables. What principles will you not compromise on no matter what? Write them down. Make them clear. Then, every decision you face, filter it through those principles. Does this align with who I want to be? If yes, do it. If no, don't, even if it costs you. This is hard, really hard. You'll lose opportunities. You'll miss out on some things people might not understand. But you'll have something they don't, genuine self-respect, the knowledge that you can be trusted, the freedom that comes from not being for sale. And over time, people notice. They might not say it, but they feel it. They see someone who stands for something, someone with backbone, someone reliable. In a world of people bending with every wind, being someone who stands firm is rare. It's valuable. It's magnetic. But more important than how others see you is how you see yourself. When you live for virtue, when you act with integrity, you can look in the mirror and respect what you see. You know you did your best. You know you didn't compromise. You know that regardless of outcomes, you showed up as the person you want to be. That's peace. That's freedom. That's strength. So commit to this. Not perfection, you'll mess up, but commitment. To being a warrior for what's right. To choosing character over convenience. To building a life you're genuinely proud of. Because at the end of the day, that's all that really matters. Not what you achieved or accumulated, but who you became, what you stood for, how you treated people, whether you stayed true to yourself. Be the warrior for virtue, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard, because that's how you build an unshakable life. So here we are. We've spent an hour together exploring these 8 Stoic principles. And if you're still here, it means something in you is ready for this. ready to stop being pulled around by emotions, ready to build real inner strength, ready to live with intention instead of just reacting to whatever happens. Let me be clear about something. This isn't easy. The Stoic path never promised easy. It promised meaning, it promised strength, it promised freedom. But you have to work for it, every single day. These aren't principles you learn once and you're done. They're practices, they're daily choices. You're going to mess up. You're going to react emotionally when you meant to pause. You're going to avoid discomfort when you meant to embrace it. You're going to get attached to outcomes when you meant to focus on process. That's okay. That's human. The Stoics weren't perfect either. Marcus Aurelius wrote his meditations as reminders to himself because he kept forgetting. If an emperor and philosopher needed daily reminders, so do you. So do I. The question isn't whether you'll struggle. The question is whether you'll keep coming back, whether you'll keep choosing, whether you'll keep training, because that's what this is, training. You're training your mind the same way you'd train your body. Slowly, consistently, with patience, and over time you'll notice changes. You'll notice you don't get rattled as easily. You'll notice you make better decisions. You'll notice you feel more in control, even when life is chaotic. Other people will notice too. They'll see someone who's steady, someone who doesn't fall apart under pressure, someone who keeps their word, someone who treats people well regardless of how they're treated. That person, that's rare, that's valuable, that's who you're becoming. Remember, the Stoics lived through wars, plagues, betrayals, exiles. They faced real hardship. And they didn't just survive it, they found meaning in it. They used it to grow. You can do the same with whatever you're facing. The difficult relationship, the career uncertainty, the health challenges, the grief, the fear. It's all training. It's all material for building character. Nothing is wasted if you use it right. So resonated with you today. Maybe it was one principle. Maybe it was all 8. Doesn't matter. Take something and apply it. Today, right now. Pick the one practice that would make the biggest difference in your life. Maybe it's embracing discomfort. Maybe it's managing your emotions better. Maybe it's remembering death to live more fully. Pick one. Commit to practicing it this week. Just 1 week. See what happens. And here's the beautiful thing. When you start practicing Stoicism, it tends to spread. One principle leads to another. One small change creates momentum for bigger changes. Before you know it, you're living differently. You're thinking differently. You're stronger than you thought you could be. That's the path. That's the work. That's how you become the person you're capable of being. The ancient Stoics gave us these tools. They tested them in the hardest circumstances. They proved they work. Now it's your turn. Take these principles. Make them your own. Use them. Share them. Live them. Not perfectly, just persistently. Because the world needs more people who've done this work. People who aren't easily manipulated. People who stay calm in chaos. People who do the right thing even when it's hard. People who stand for something. The world needs warriors for virtue, and that's what you're becoming. So thank you for spending this hour with me. Thank you for taking this seriously. Thank you for being someone who wants to grow, who wants to be better, who wants to live with meaning. That choice alone sets you apart. Now go. Take this and use it. Build the life you actually want. Become the person you respect. The path is clear. The principles are proven. The only question is, will you walk it? I think you will, because you're still here. Now start.